Trump, of course, is even more demented and full of dementia. But they're around the same. But Biden wears it horribly. He shuffles and he looks fucking old as dirt.
You said Trump is more dementia than Biden?
Yes.
You didn't just say that. You said the
Trump. Oh, you like Trump more than Biden?
No.
I mean, you can.
In the area of dementia, there's a lot of things you could say. Did you really?
Did you see what Trump said this weekend?
Yeah, the whole thing about Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley.
Right.
And then he, somehow, some way, everybody from the media comes out and says, no, that wasn't Nikki Haley who shut down and controlled security. It was Nancy, Pelosi. But to say dementia between the two, look, Biden, you listen to 100 speeches, you can't even, he can't even go through his speeches.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Leftist Losers Show, where we point out all of the losers of the left. And today I got a clip from the SOS Podcast, which is hosted by Adam Sosnick, who is a co-host of the PBD, or Patrick Bet-David show. And Patrick Bet-David was here as the guest for the SOS Podcast, and him and Adam went ahead and talked about just the current political situation and what's going on with Trump and Biden. Obviously, now Biden dropped out. But the reason they were bringing this up was due to a interview that Patrick Bet-David did with Bill Maher a few months ago, back in February to be exact. And Bill Maher just had, as always, a awful take. And in this clip, we're going to go ahead and see Patrick Bet-David kind of dissect that whole interview and basically just rip and roast Bill Maher as usual, because Bill Maher is just, he has really bad takes and he has raging TDS, and he sure lets that, he does let that shine as much as he can. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in this clip, and I hope you guys enjoy that, and we will get moving.
Second. So, the debate with Biden, clearly the guy's lost a step or two. And dementia, Alzheimer's, did he get hit in the head? He was cold, traveling. This was just 5 months ago, the conversation that you had with Bill Maher. They said, well, there's receipts. This is an interesting dialogue that you had with Bill Maher. By the way, Biden just came out and said he's staying in the race. Mm-hmm. We've been speculating all week in the PBD podcast. Is it Kamala, Michelle? The numbers, Gavin Newsom. What's going to happen here? Who is it? Gretchen Whitmer? Well, Biden just said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to beat Trump. Okay. But what's going on with his health? Here's this clip of your exchange with Bill Maher, and I'll ask you a question on the other side.
Ages the way, people like, this is the problem we're having right now with Trump and Biden. Trump, of course, is even more demented and full of dementia. But they're around the same. But Biden wears it horribly. He shuffles and he looks fucking old as dirt.
Can we just real quick point out how horribly this whole comment just aged, and the fact that Trump has so much dementia, yet he's able to do rallies that are 2 or 3 hours long, and he just gave a speech at the RNC that was an hour and a half long with only one gaffe, and that gaffe was just him misremembering the name of the Star Wars project that Reagan's administration pushed. It's just really funny, but Bill Maher's takes always age so well, like fine wine.
And Trump is more dementia than Biden?
Yes.
You didn't just say that. You said the
Trump. Oh, you like Trump more than Biden?
No.
I mean, you can.
In the area of dementia, there's a lot of things you could say. Did you really?
Did you see what Trump said this weekend?
Yeah, the whole thing about Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley.
Right.
And then he, somehow, some way, everybody from the media comes out and says, no, that wasn't Nikki Haley who shut down and controlled security. It was Nancy, Pelosi. But to say dementia between the two, look, Biden, you listen to 100 speeches, you can't even, he can't even go through his speeches.
So, yeah, Trump clearly has more dementia than Biden at this point. I mean, that's, if this conversation were taking place with Bill Maher again, do you think he would take that back? Because clearly Biden has lost a step or two. Say what you want about Trump, he's still got it.
Okay, so go.
See, it doesn't, with regards to Bill Maher, it doesn't matter, because the reality is Bill Maher has raging TDS. The man hates Trump, and that's blatantly obvious, because anytime a valid point is brought up, like what Patrick Bet-David did in that little short clip, Bill Maher can't accept it. He will not accept it. That's why he'll shill for Biden at any point in time that he can. And now that that's not relevant because Biden dropped out, he probably will do the same for Kamala Harris. Now, he will point out like flaws they have, which is why every now and then he'll say something that makes us go, maybe he's seeing the light this time. But the reality is Bill Maher can't stand Trump on a personal level. And I think there's some personal beef in the background there. I think there was some kind of lawsuit that he was involved in where Trump sued him for defamation or a joke he made or something. So regardless, whatever it is, it's just he lets his TDS shine, and it just makes him look foolish, especially when he's making comments about how Trump has a ton of dementia when there's no signs of that other than the fact that he's just old, but he is extremely spry for how old he is. But anyways, so it's just the thing with Bill Maher is he's just going to shill for whoever the Democrat is, and that's who pays his checks and butters his bread. So he'll just continue to do so, and so I'm sure in the next few weeks we'll see his show shilling Kamala as much as he can.
Can you click a new tab and type in power versus force chart? Power versus force chart, okay? And then go to images. And then pick whichever one that's click on the furthest one to the right, top right, yeah. And then let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. If you can just zoom into that. Yeah, just click on it and go to the page and Control Z. And okay, that's good. If you can Control Z a little bit. So watch this.
Yeah.
Okay, what feeling and energy did Bill Maher give you? Was it shame? No, he wasn't ashamed. No. Was it guilt? No. Apathy? No. Grief? No. Fear? He gave you fear. Mm-hmm. He's afraid Trump's going to go there.
Yep.
Is it desire? No. Is it anger? Yes.
A little bit.
Absolutely.
Pride?
Did you feel pride? Yes. Did he have the courage to be straight up? No. Was he trying to do his best to be neutral and fair? No.
No.
Was he willing to have his arguments challenged? Not necessarily. Is he willing to accept the fact that his candidate is, absolutely terrible? No, he can't.
Right.
And was he able to reason? No. And then you got love, joy, peace, enlightenment. That's a whole different thing that we're all trying to get to, right? Anytime, I'm trying to make an argument, and if anytime I go emotional, and I'm like, okay, what are you angry about? PBD, tell me, what are you angry about? What made you angry right now? Why are you getting angry about this? You mean to tell me you can't have the courage to have a conversation? You can't stay neutral and see both sides of the argument? You can't sit there and understand and be willing to see what they're trying to tell you? You can't accept the fact that we all have different reasons why we vote the way we vote? Okay, cool. So to me, yesterday, Stephen A. Smith, when he's here, we're doing a podcast. I'm on his podcast, and we're having a conversation together. And, he brought up Trump Biden. I said, look, this is the first time ever in our lifetime. You and I are a year apart, 2 years apart. Stephen A. and I are, I don't know how many years apart, 5 years apart. I don't know. He looks great. So maybe we're 5 years apart. When is the last time that the two choices we have to vote as president, both of them, we have almost a full term to look at and compare? When's the last time?
It happened with Grover Cleveland in like 1912.
That's the point. It's never happened in our lifetime.
Yeah, not
in the last 110 years, right? On 12 years. Okay,
We've never seen anything like this.
We've never seen anything like this. So what happens when you have that? Here's what it means. I'll give the best analogy for you to think about. Let's just say, Adam, this is a weird one for you because you wouldn't go for this, but just try to process this one here. Imagine you got two girls you love, okay? Each of these girls, when you were in your 20s, you were with for 4 years. Okay?
I like where we're going here.
Each of them you're with for 4 years, okay? You know what you like and don't like about each, and you know what was a deal breaker and not a deal breaker with each, right?
Right.
It's not hard to choose who you know for a fact you don't want to be with. And it's not hard to choose who for a fact if you have only those two choices, guess what? Who you're willing to be with, right? Okay.
Patrick Bet-David just hit us with some serious wisdom there. When he pulled up that emotions chart showing the difference between, being powerful and being forceful, and kind of showing that a lot of the stuff that was considered low value was towards the bottom was emotions. I think it's something that should be applied to the overall, out view of politics, right? So like if you think about the way people on the left or the Democratic Party vote, a lot of it tends to be emotions based, right? They want to vote for something that makes them feel good. They want to vote for something that they think's helping, right? Whether even if it's just on the surface, it's superficial. At the long run, it usually doesn't help. Whereas people on the right are usually looking for the long game and are more willing to do like the tough love thing, where they want to help, but they want to help in a way that will last and not just make you feel good. And I think that kind of shows you where those people stand, right? Like they're on that chart, like Bill Maher, for instance. A lot of the things that Patrick David was describing about his attitude and responses to the Trump in that question fell within that emotional side of the chart. And I think, again, I think that's extremely valuable to think about when you're in a situation, to do just what he said, which is think about, why am I upset right now? Why am I being emotional? And then apply that to your attitude and outlook. So that way you can be a more reasonable person, because that will give you the power of influence, which is the point that he was trying to make. That someone like Bill Maher is not going to influence people to join his side unless they are also emotional. And the left loves to play that game. And then the other point he's making now is the fact that we've never had the option to see 2 full terms of a president, both choices, and then have the ability to pick between them again. Now, of course, Biden has dropped out, but Kamala Harris, if she does end up getting the nomination, which it does look like she will, supposedly she's secured the delegates, she was also in his cabinet. She was his vice president. So it's still kind of a choice between the two, last terms of president that we just had. And I think, like he said, the choice is pretty obvious on which one would you like. Now, of course, Trump's term ended with COVID, but we can't blame him for COVID. We can blame Dr. Fauci and the NIH for funding the research that caused COVID. But you can't say that, at the end of 2019, before COVID, things were going really good. You see, like, Kramer saying that these are the best numbers of our lives, talking about the economy. Now, Kramer's pretty terrible for predicting stuff, but he was just pointing out the statistics of what was going on at the time, and to be honest, things were going pretty great.
Take a woman who 2 guys she knows, and she knows them very well. Each of them you worked with for 4 years, or each of them you spent time with for 4 years. Maybe you didn't even date, but you spent 4 years with this person. You worked at a company, and you and him spent literally 50 hours a week together for 4 years, and you spend 4 years at this other company, and you spend 4 years, 50 hours a week with this guy. He told you all the stories. When he'd go to lunch, he would tell you all the stuff about his exes, what's going on, you know everything about him, right? People marry their friends sometimes. You're going to be able to sit there and say, oh, there's no way I can be with that guy, and there's no way I can be with this guy, but I can be with this guy. I like him, and you marry him, right? America has to choose who they want to marry for the next 4 years, okay? The difference between marriage is you plan on being long-term. There is no term limits in marriage, although some people would like to see term limits. But in choosing a president, there is term limits, right? Okay. 1, when you go to the club with them, no fights break out, and if it does, you're fully protected. But when he goes to a club, there are no fights. 1, whenever bills had to be paid, he had the money to pay for it. 1, whenever you went out and people saw you next to him, they feared the guy standing next to you and they respected him, okay? And they're like, hey, how you doing? Good. And it's like, oh, okay, wow, shit, she's with him? Damn, that's pretty crazy. And then the other one, when you would go and you're trying to introduce yourself, this is my boyfriend, hey, he would grab your hand and he would massage your friend's hands. You're like, hey, Johnny, please don't touch him like that. This is my friend. Like, and imagine you're trying to tell your boyfriend, don't touch him like that. Imagine you go and introduce him to your cousin who's got a 12-year-old daughter, and your boyfriend sniffs your 12-year-old daughter's hair. It's a little weird, right? You're embarrassed to almost show your boyfriend to other people, your girlfriend to other people. Those are the 2 options. You can say whatever you want about Trump. You can say whatever you want about Biden. One has to choose. When you go to the nightclub, you feel safer with the other one. There's never been a fight. When the other one goes to the nightclub, nobody fears him. There's always fights being broken out, and you're worried about you getting hurt. So the American people have a very easy choice to make. This is not that complicated.
Patrick Bet-David is absolutely right, but the problem with what he's saying is that while the choice is easy and obvious for those of us who pay attention, it is not for those who are still blinded by the media's lies. And that's the hurdle that Trump really has to get over at this point. If the media was completely neutral and was a neutral arbiter in the situation of politics in our country, it would be a landslide for Trump every single time. They could have the election 17 times in a year, and he would win every single time because, like he's pointed out, there's a lot of good stuff to talk about Trump. Now, Trump has his issues, right? He's not perfect, but the overall situation that we were in 2019 after 3 years of his presidency was great. Like, things were on the up and up. Things were improving. Energy was becoming cheaper because we were producing way more of it. And so the economy was absolutely booming because energy is the basis of everything in the economy. Shipping and everything else that you can think of. Excuse me. So yes, it should be an easy choice if people were all paying attention, but that's the problem, right? The media has people in a lull. they put people to sleep, and then they tell them a bunch of lies that they whisper in their ears, and then that people buy that stuff. That's why you get these people with raging TDS who think he's Hitler. That's why you get somebody deranged enough to try to assassinate Trump, because the media is lying to them all the time, and it's just, that's the big hurdle, right? If we could figure out a way to overcome the media, and I think that we are, right? Independent, creators and news organizations on YouTube and Rumble and places like this are the ones who are finally putting, the mainstream media's feet to the fire and forcing them to adapt. And that's what's really going to change things, the culture, right? People watching stuff like the PBD podcast and getting their information from people like Patrick Bet-David. That's how we're going to change things and turn this country around, is by changing the culture and by changing where people get their information and who they trust, right? So anyways, guys, that's what I had for you today. After this, Adam just kind of rambles and he talks really slow and doesn't really make a lot of good points. But I really wanted to bring this clip to your guys' attention because I think PBD has some fantastic opinions. And while sometimes it's kind of hard to follow his little stories that he tells to describe things, I think if you really try to pay attention and focus on what he's saying, he has some really base takes. As cringe as saying base is, but Patrick David is pretty fantastic, and I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, like and subscribe to the video, and please comment down below your thoughts on the whole situation, and or if you just don't like my content, go ahead and tear me apart in the comment section. I appreciate it either way, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.